Well, hello there. Welcome back to season, drumroll please, 3 of the Blessed Mess podcast. Guys, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Hi, welcome to the Blessed Mess podcast. I'm your host, Maria Buskirk. In this podcast, we're going to be tackling the hard-hitting topics of being a Christian teenager or young adult in today's society. So, I have some big things coming for this season. I really want to work on growing and doing more with this platform and having a lot more fun with it. So I'm really excited for what is to come for season 3. Just stay tuned for some really cool announcements. If you haven't followed my Instagram account, that's where I put pretty much all my announcements other than my actual podcast. So if you're watching, here's my little, what's it called? Handle, my Instagram handle. And if you're not watching and you're just listening, it's just at Blessed Mess Podcast on Instagram. So go follow so you can stay tuned for some big announcements for the season, because I'm really excited to do a lot more with this podcast. So anyways, so as you're watching this, as this video is going out at least, it is Good Friday, and I personally absolutely love Easter. It's probably, I want to say it's probably my favorite holiday, just because it's so important to understand what the real meaning of Easter is. And I find myself every year on Easter reading through the Easter story, and I just always feel so unbelievably close to Jesus in that, when reading that. And I always cry every time. I cry every time I read the Easter story. And as you're watching or listening, you might be a big fan of Easter. I mean, I love the pastels, and I love egg-shaped Reese cups, and I love Peeps, and I love decorating for Easter because my room's very bright. You don't see a lot of the brightness of my room. A lot of this is just my shelf and my window, but at some point I'm gonna have to, for the people who watch, show you the rest of my room, because it's very colorful in here, and I love color in my room. And I have a little bunny blanket on right now, and it's so cute, and got a little bunny here, and then I decorated this year. So I just want to talk a little bit about my room really quick, because I am absolutely obsessed with my bedroom. This past summer, I decided to completely redo my bedroom. I mean, I still kept the color of the walls the same. It's like a teal color. But I originally had a little day bed, and it was a twin bed in here. And the walls were completely covered in different things. And I decided I was growing out of it a little bit, and I wanted a bigger bed, a more comfortable bed, because right next door is a guest bedroom that we use if people come and stay in town. Usually if my brother comes home, he'll stay in there. But I really wanted the queen bed that was in there. So what I decided to do, I moved. It was one week where my mom wasn't home. She was on a beach trip with her friends. I took this entire week I ripped everything off my walls. I took everything down. I plastered like the walls, any like really big holes in the wall, because I actually did have a big hole in the wall for something that I hung up and it fell down. And I completely repainted any of the spots that were all messed up. And then I had to take apart my entire bed frame and move it out, and it sat like in our hallway for several days. And I had to take the twin bed mattress out. Then I had to take the queen bed mattress out and move it somewhere. I moved the bed frame in here. I ordered new sheets and comforter. I ordered cute little posters. Also, I want to give y'all a tip. especially you girls out there, if you ever want to get cute posters for your room, but you don't know where to look, I highly recommend this option. Go on Etsy and look up like digital prints, and you can get like digital downloads of prints. Figure out what size you want, and then print them at Walmart and get like a poster of them at Walmart. And it's so easy, and like it's so cute. Like I pull it off every time. I think I have 11 of my posters in here, which 2 of them aren't like really shown right now, but like I switch out seasonal posters. Actually, I have like 15 posters, I think, that I have digitally downloaded, printed at Walmart, and then just got like frames at Walmart with them. And it's the best thing ever, and I love it so much. So highly recommend that. But I just completely redid my room, and I don't remember why I'm talking about this, but I really love the pretty like pastel-y colors. And so like with that aspect of Easter, like so cute. So you might be thinking Easter is all about like the Easter Bunny, Easter egg hunts, and all of these fun little pastel outfits and bunny related things. And that's great. That side of Easter is so fun, and I love that. But there's such a bigger and better aspect of Easter that you might be completely missing out on. And maybe you're watching this and you're like, I already know what all this is about. I know the Easter story. I could recite it frontwards and backwards for you if you want me to. And that's great too. But I want to come on here and just talk about what Easter means to me and what it should mean to us as Christians as a whole, and just give a basic explanation of what the real meaning of Easter is. So, if you're not sure where to read the Easter story, take out your trusty Bible, and you're going to want, so if you know the Bible, there's 66 books in the Bible, and it's split in 2 parts. There's the Old Testament, which is the beginning part, and the New Testament, which is the second part. In the New Testament is where we're going to be wanting to look, and we're going to be looking specifically in the Gospels. Now, if you don't know what the Gospels are, it's the first 4 books of the New Testament. If you know about the Old Testament, it is all about how God created the earth and how everything came to be before Jesus. And the New Testament is everything from when Jesus was born to a lot of things that happened after his death. And the Gospels specifically are the first 4 books of the New Testament: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And it's all about Jesus' life here on earth and what all went down from his birth to his death. And so the good news about the Gospels is that if you're looking to read the Easter story, you can find it in all 4 Gospels. So if you want to read about the reason for the season, jump into Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or all 4. I personally, when I'm reading the Bible and I'm getting familiar with it, I started in John. John, I highly recommend you read through all of John, and once you get done, I recommend you read through John again, because there's always so much that you can obtain from one read, and then you can get so much more from the second read, and you can just keep grabbing onto more and more. And that's beautiful. I know I have read through especially I want to say in John, the Easter story. I read it every year. This year I read all 4, but for sure every year I read through the Easter story, Jesus' death, and his resurrection through John. John is a good place to start. So, with the Easter story, we're just going to dive right in. So, to summarize, Jesus was here on earth, and he was performing amazing miracles, and he was telling parables, which are stories that aren't necessarily real. They're fictional, but they have a lesson, a biblical lesson in it. And Jesus taught a lot of the time in parables when he was talking about a lot of more complex subjects. He would take them as parables in these stories to help them make sense to people. Jesus was doing these miraculous things on earth here, and a lot of these Pharisees, these Jewish leaders and teachers, didn't appreciate it and didn't understand it and didn't believe it. They didn't believe he was the Messiah. They were always trying to catch him in doing something unbiblical to call out that he's not the Messiah, and they just didn't like Jesus. They were not a fan of Jesus. And so, as Jesus is working through his life doing these miracles and these amazing things, he became the most famous guy in the region. He was huge. And so, at the time, Passover was going on and was starting. And if you don't know what Passover is, it's a Jewish celebration of their release from slavery in Egypt. If you want like a little bit more understanding, I recommend reading Exodus. I think it's Exodus 12, where they really talk about Passover and what it's all about. But Passover is beginning here, and Jesus arrives on a donkey and is swarmed with these people praising him and shouting Hosanna, and he is just being glorified by all the people here in Jerusalem as he's entering in on a donkey. And as the days go on, he has the Last Supper with all of his disciples, his people walking with him, and he predicts his death, and he predicts that one of the disciples is going to betray him, and he also predicts that one of the disciples is going to deny him 3 times. And he washes their feet anyway. He knows he's going to be betrayed by one of them. He knows that he's going to be denied by the person who said he would stand with him forever. He knows this is all happening, and still he decides to lower himself down even more, as he is king. He is the Son of God. He decides to lower himself like he always does and washes their feet. Can you imagine how gross their feet are too? I'm sorry, there's one thing that I can't stand, and that is feet. If you know me well, you know I don't like feet. And so, like, understanding how Jesus washes their feet, and think of how, like, our feet can get gross when we're wearing shoes. Imagine how gross their feet were at this time. Oh my, that's a lot. That's really lowering yourself and humbling yourself. And that just shows Jesus' character and how amazing he truly is. So Jesus is betrayed. Judas is the one who betrays him, and he gets arrested. You might be wondering, well, what did he get arrested for? What did he do that caused him to get arrested? Exactly. So that's where we get to Jesus is arrested, and Pontius Pilate is the one who has the call to make of what did he get arrested for? What is this man accused of? What am I arresting this man for? And what am I putting him to death for? These people, something I really want to highlight here, these people who were just praising him and glorifying him as he rode in are now screaming for him to be killed, to be put to death. In a matter of days, they completely switched from praising him to putting him to death. For what? So Jesus is arrested, and Pontius Pilate really doesn't know what to arrest him for. And at the time of Passover, whoever is currently being arrested and is on their way to being crucified, they decide in Passover fashion to allow one of them to go free. And so here's Jesus, a sinless man who does not deserve death and did nothing wrong, is standing next to a man named Barabbas who is a murderer. And they've decided to release Barabbas, a murderer, rather than the sinless Son of God, Jesus. And Jesus was sentenced to be crucified. And so, as the story goes on, we learn that Peter, the one that Jesus predicted to deny him 3 times, did deny him 3 times. Peter said that he would stand by him and would never deny him. But Jesus knew. And Peter denied Jesus 3 times. I think as Christians, we get a lot of things wrong. And I think as people on earth, in a fallen, broken world, we see a lot of hard things. We see a lot of bad things that happen. And I think a lot of the time, we don't really understand how much Jesus had to endure in his death. We don't truly understand the amount of pain and agony he had to go through in his death. And I think that can cause us to miss a huge piece of our relationship with him, of how much he was taking on for us. I'm just going to read John 19, just the first few verses. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. If you don't know what flogging is, he's getting whipped. And hear me on this. It's graphic, but hear me on this. Jesus was flogged and to the point where you couldn't tell that it was him. There were pieces of his skin completely ripped off. You could probably see bone. He was unbearably broken up. And this was just the start. So he was flogged. I mean, it was bad. He was already torn down, and this was only the start. So he was flogged. The soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head. I'm sure most of us listening have gotten a thorn in our leg or our arm or whatever as we're walking through the woods or near bushes. Those hurt. Now imagine that sitting, just a whole crown of thorns just sitting on your head, cutting into your head. They clothed him in a purple robe and went up to him again and again, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they slapped him in the face. The chief priests and officials saw him and shouted, "Crucify! Crucify!" After this occurrence, Jesus had to carry his own cross up to Golgotha. There he was crucified. They hung his cross and hung him to the cross. nails in his hands and in his feet, and he hung there. They put a sign on top of the cross that said, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." Now, I'm going to share part of Luke's story of the Easter story of Jesus' death on the cross. Jesus was nailed to the cross, and there were two people beside him, also hanging on a cross. Jesus was there. The two criminals hung beside Jesus on their own cross, being crucified. One of them mocked him just the same as the guards and the chief priests and the officials, but the other called out the other criminal and said, "Don't you fear God, since you are under the same sentence? We are punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve, but this man has done nothing wrong." And then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And I think we get it wrong a lot of the time, where we want to say, I have to do this, and this, and this, and this to get into heaven. I have to know this Bible from cover to cover and memorize it. I need to serve others. I need to pray every single day. I need to evangelize. I need to tell people about Jesus. All of those things are great, but anything that we do isn't getting us into heaven. What Jesus did here is what gets us into heaven. And so a lot of people think you have to have these certain things that you got to check off a box. We were just talking about this in my church service this past weekend. We need entry requirements where we need to do certain things to get ourselves into heaven, where in reality, nothing that we do is ever going to be good enough to get us into heaven. Only what Jesus did for us by dying on a cross in the most gruesome way, enduring all of the sins of us in this world. He did it, not us. And it's perfectly summed up here, whereas this man was a criminal. He's dying now, and he was a criminal throughout his life. And he said to Jesus, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus didn't say, "Sorry, it's too late. You didn't do enough. Sorry, I can't help you now." He said, "Today you will be with me in paradise." We don't always have to... whatever we think we need to do to get into heaven is never what we need to do. Jesus already covered it all. Jesus already did it all. We just have to believe that. Jesus was buried in a tomb, stone covered in front of it. And then this is where Passover happens. So everyone... And this is when the Sabbath was happening. So Saturday, Sabbath, everyone's resting. And then Sunday, they go first thing. It was Mary Magdalene, Mary, Jesus' mother, and another woman. They were all women. They go to the tomb, and it's empty. And they found two angels, two men, telling them that Jesus isn't here. He's not. Why are you looking for the living among the dead? He's not here. He has risen. Jesus has risen. And Jesus rose from the dead. And that same spirit that rose him from the dead now lives in us, and he promised that for us. And so, knowing what Jesus did, that he died a lowly death to cover our sins, it's truly a beautiful story, and something that we need to not lose sight of, and to not desensitize, because what he had to endure was awful for us. We can't forget that. And that is what Easter is really about, guys. It's not about the Peeps or the Cadbury eggs or the Easter egg hunts. It's about Jesus. Dying for us, for our sins, to cover us, and him being risen from the dead. And that is all that I got for you guys for this episode. Happy Easter. Happy season 3 of the Blessed Mess podcast. I'll see you guys next week.